or you have to cut back on how much views they're getting. You have to go after them. In essence, silence them. So in essence, it metastasized and the metamorphosis into a government-run entity that was targeting political speech in America, labeling it disinformation, and silencing it, all paid for by the American taxpayers directly and indirectly.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all so much for being here. Today, we're going to look at a few things. The first thing is going to be Ben Shapiro and Marco Rubio had a conversation about how the government used to police speech of American citizens and police speech all over the place, and how bad it is and how crazy it is that liberals do that. And it's fascinating that those two can't see the hypocrisy, where in Ben's case, it seems like they support it. And in Rubio's case, his government's literally doing the exact same thing he's talking about. And it's just mind-boggling that they don't see it and the people who watch these shows don't see it. So we're going to talk about it. And then also I'm going to show you a clip of Trump changed the covid.gov website to essentially point out how it is a lab leak, how there's evidence that it's not a natural virus, how, Fauci is complicit in it, and, kind of hint that Biden shouldn't have pardoned him, or maybe perhaps he's hinting to the auto pen that it's not a real pardon, it doesn't count. Now there's some sort of, will he go after Fauci or not? We're going to talk about that. Eco Health Alliance, all the sort of stuff people have been talking about for years. It's now on a government website. So we're going to look at what the government website says and what I think about it. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so much. Dream Rare Podcast starts now, and here's the show.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on YouTube? What's going on Facebook? What's going on Rumble? What's going on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're hearing it on there? I didn't realize how controversial my song was at the beginning, because I told people I might change it based on, some criticism. Like I think I'm capable of doing a lot better. Obviously I do hip hop as well, so it's like I threw it together pretty quickly, but I don't hate it. And I just thought it was hilarious. I looked at my comment section and half of the comments were like, Anomaly, I love that song, it's amazing, it's epic. And then the other half were like, it's trash, scrap it. So I had no idea it was like a 50-50 controversial split there, but it really has nothing to do with anything as far as this video. So I just thought that was funny. I read some of the comments from the last video. Let's get into it real quick, because I do want to talk about the COVID stuff. But the first thing that I'm going to mention is the Marco Rubio, Ben Shapiro interview, because they started talking about how past administrations were censoring American citizens and policing speech and how crazy it is. But they're also doing that now. And if you guys are watching, just give me a thumbs up in the chat and a thumbs up for the algorithm for the chat. Let me know the audio and everything's working. Sometimes the numbers look a little weird. So give me a thumbs up if everything sounds good, and we're going to get into those videos right now. I'm trying to keep this video under an hour, so let's get it.
So let's talk about this major move that you just made at the State Department, getting rid of a big chunk of the censorship bureaucracy that had been created and pushed a while back, but then exacerbated over the course of the last few years, hidden. What's the story with what you are doing over at the State Department to get rid of the body formerly known as the Global Engagement Center?
Yeah, I think you have to understand the history behind it. It's real brief. They started it by saying, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all these terrible groups are radicalizing people online. We should do something about it. And, back when they came up with that 12 years ago, whatever it was, people are like, whatever makes sense.
So Marco Rubio is admitting that the U.S. government said we have to go after Al-Qaeda, ISIS online, using the terrorist term, right? Let's go after the terrorists. So we need to start policing speech on the internet. Sounds so familiar. We'll get into it in a little bit, but the irony is not lost on Marco Rubio and Ben Shapiro that they are literally doing the exact literal same thing now, yet just acting like they're not, as if we're all so stupid to not know that they are actually doing that still. So let's keep watching.
And then it metastasized, and it's like, oh, there's foreign interference in our elections. We need to start going after that. Well, then by 2020, it became a movement to go after voices inside of American politics and begin to label people. And they put a guy in charge who basically was going around saying Trump speaks just like these foreign terrorists. His supporters speak just like these foreign terrorists. So now you have an individual running a State Department entity that was labeling American speech by Americans as foreign interference.
So let me get this straight, Marco Rubio, because we're acting like this is something that just Democrats do. Because Donald Trump was speaking out against U.S. foreign policy and the wars that the deep state was doing at a certain point, they started labeling him a terrorist, right? he's acting as if this is some Democrat plot or deep state plot that they're totally just getting rid of, right? It's like that's what they were. He's doing the same exact thing now to anybody who's critical of the Israel-Palestine foreign policy. Literally every single word that he says, every single thing that he says that they were doing to Donald Trump and conservatives, the Zionist first Rubio Trump administration is doing literally the same exact thing to anybody who criticizes in any way the country they give the most foreign aid to. If you say, I support Israel, they're awesome, I love Israelis, I love everybody, I just think they're killing a few too many children, they'll tell you that that's Qatar propaganda, Hamas propaganda. They start accusing you of working for foreign countries and being a terrorist. Literally every single thing that Marco Rubio is saying that Democrats accuse Trump of doing, Rubio, Trump, and his entire administration is doing the same exact thing now. And I just can't believe they can't see it, or I know they know. So it's like, how do they look the camera in the eyes and say this stuff? I don't get it.
And then really the kicker was not only were they doing all that formally from the State Department, but they were taking State Department money and they were giving it to these third party groups who were supposed to be like independent, verified arbiters of what's true and what isn't, what's good and what's bad. And these groups were deliberately targeting, I believe you were one of the ones they targeted, I think the Federalists, began putting labels on people. Now, you may say, okay, well, what's the importance of label? Well, that's not just the issue here. The issue is not only did they put labels on people, that was then used to go to social media companies. It was used to go to outlets and say, you have to deplatform these people.
All right, I just got to say this real quick. We got a $49.99, almost $50 super chat from Dolores. Thank you, Dolores. La la la. See, I'll do a song. You do $40, I'll start dancing like a stage monkey. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you so much, Dolores. I appreciate that. The support really helps. And he's like, not only were they censoring people, but they were throwing labels at anybody that was disagreeing with their foreign policy. I wonder if, the Uniparty and Rubio and Trump and this administration, I wonder if they're throwing labels onto people as well to basically demonize them. I don't know. The term anti-Semitism comes to mind, but, maybe that's not being abused and misused by them. And maybe they're not calling everybody terrorists. They're the same exact thing. Let's listen to the last clip real quick.
You have to deplatform these people, or you have to cut back on how much views they're getting. You have to go after them, in essence, silence them. So in essence, it metastasized and the metamorphosis into a government-run entity that was targeting political speech in America, labeling it disinformation, and silencing it, all paid for by the American taxpayers directly and indirectly.
We're still paying for our own censorship. We are giving hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign aid. Trump is getting hundreds of millions of dollars from donors, including Democrats are as well. They're getting tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from donors too. It's a bipartisan thing. The left always says hate the right. The right always says hate the left. And I lean right. I think I'm, very conservative. So it's like, I don't agree with the left, but both of the sides, they make these fake plots in order for you to just fight the other side. And then when you look at their foreign policy, you're like, it's almost identical. Yeah, there's slight differences, et cetera. But every single thing that he said to Ben Shapiro that the Democrats were doing against critics of foreign policy like Trump, et cetera, during their administration is what he's doing to foreign policy critics of Israel. And I want to show this clip as well, because somebody found this on Twitter. And what he's saying right now is happening to U.S. citizens, but he doesn't say anything about them, because it's the thing that he's enforcing. So let's listen to this one real quick.
Our number one priority is Americans. So we don't want to see an American who happens to be living in London or happens to be living in Europe post something online about American politics or any politics, and all of a sudden they're facing ramifications over there, or they're denied entry, and something happens, we're denying them into our country, or we're going to arrest them because they posted something while living overseas. So
So he's concerned with people that are getting barred from foreign countries because of something they post. I don't want to play it again. You just saw it, but he's like, I don't want them to have problems getting entry into foreign countries. And it's like, you mean like Candace Owens got banned from Australia for anti-Semitism because you guys are passing the same anti-Semitism hate speech laws as Australia is? If you look at the government, and I have to be clear about this because so many people that are pro-Israel, they don't realize that they're supporting censorship because they're getting tricked by really Zionist first media that's pretending to be conservative in America first, where they don't get what I'm saying. They think I'm being hateful, but it's like, if you read the anti-Semitism hate speech laws, right? Why is our definition of anti-Semitism that the US government's enforcing, why is it the same definition that Australia is enforcing? Why is it the same identical definition that Canada's enforcing? Why is it identical to the one that the UK is enforcing? Why is it identical to the one in Sao Paulo, Brazil? Why is it identical to the one in Poland? Why is it identical to the one in Germany? Why is it like you start looking around and it's like we're fighting the globalists. If we're fighting the globalists, why are we passing a global definition of anti-Semitism into law that matches all the countries that all the conservative commentators constantly mock? They're like, we don't believe in hate speech laws. Yeah, UK goes further in other topics too. It's like if you criticize homosexuals, they probably like send the police after you. If you criticize Islam, they probably send the police after you. If you criticize immigration, they send I'm glad we're not the UK. The UK is so far gone. Like, they don't have free speech, right? They don't have free speech to criticize immigration. They don't have free speech to criticize race and religion. They don't have free speech to criticize the gays. They don't have like, you probably can't be like a misogynist or whatever. There's all these hate speech laws, but when it comes to anti-Semitism, isn't it weird that almost the entire globe is coming together to push the same definition that includes the word Jesus in it, that says you can't say certain people own media companies and control politicians and societal institutions, to say you can't say anybody of that ethnicity has dual loyalty, even though Jonathan Pollard just flew back to Israel, which is one of the most damaging spies in U.S. history, on Trump's donor's jet, and then Floyd Mayweather's like hanging out with him in Israel. It's all very weird, but it's like, did he have dual loyalty? Or are you allowed to say he did? Because I'm pretty sure he did. That's why, he was in prison for 20 years and he just recently got released. But you understand what I'm saying? It's like these speech laws are all really weird. Rubio, Trump are enforcing them all. And every single word that he just said there is what they're now doing. Someone mentioned the suspension of habeas corpus. I haven't fully looked into it, but I do know, just based off of my research now, and maybe I'll do a bigger video on that, the Trump administration is fumbling the bag in so many ways. If they would have just went after terrorists and criminals and actual like gang members and people that are illegal, even if Trump went after illegals, every illegal in the country, he wouldn't be able to deport everybody. Like, he doesn't even have the resources to deport every person that he could legally deport right now. So it's like, why is he going after people on a college campus who never committed a crime, who are criticizing Israel? And then Marco Rubio has the gall to go on Ben Shapiro's thing and be like, you hear all this stuff the Democrats are doing? You're doing literally identically every single thing that you just accused them of, you also are doing. So it's like, yeah, Democrats suck, but you also suck, Marco Rubio. And if you're so concerned with people not being let into countries because of their speech, why don't you talk about the fact that Candace Owens was banned from a speaking gig in Australia because the Australian government is banning her? Do you know why Marco Rubio doesn't speak up against that, or Donald Trump or any of these people? Because they're totally fine with it, because they work for the same people, because they take donor money, because they sell out our U.S. Constitution, and they're totally okay with foreign countries banning you if you break the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is a global international definition of hate speech. They're fine with it. They're passing it into America, and they hope that people don't realize that the people globally that are pushing these hate speech laws are on stage talking about how they want people jailed because of the hate speech laws, how they want more countries to enforce it even stronger. Like, you can go to jail for speaking literally the truth in Australia or Argentina or all these countries that don't have the First Amendment. And you notice that the Rubios of the world really don't have that much to say when people are being prosecuted all over Europe and even in South America now because of anti-Semitism, aka just saying words that you could say about any country. You could call any country anything, but if you call Israel a certain word, you can get arrested in Argentina. It's happening right now. Mali is this big libertarian, right? He's this free speech libertarian Zionist that everybody's obsessed with. Is Mali talking about that? Would any libertarian ever be okay with somebody getting arrested for saying words? I haven't heard much from him, but we'll see. Speaking of which, before I move on to the COVID stuff, I saw recently that Donald Trump put Mark Levin and Henry McMaster on some sort of security council for the Department of Homeland Security. I'll just show you guys real quick. I guess it's a Homeland Security Advisory Council. He put Henry McMaster and Mark Levin. I'll talk about Mark Levin in a second, but Henry McMaster, I'm like, I know I've heard this name because I always tell people that the Republicans really started pushing the IHRA, anti-Semitism, hate speech laws in America in 2019, because that's when Trump and DeSantis did it and it started picking up steam. But the first one, I believe, was in 2018. And I remember the name Henry McMaster from my research because from what I recalled, I was like, I think he was the first governor in America to bring the IHRA, anti-Semitism definition into law. And he was. I asked Grok real quick, the AI on Twitter or X. I said, who was the first governor to sign the IHRA, anti-Semitism definition into law? Just the name, Henry McMaster. So I just find it fascinating that the guy who literally brought anti-Semitic hate speech laws to America, the first one, the pioneer, the first governor, before DeSantis, before Trump, he's getting rewarded with Trump to now brief the Security Council. And, he's apparently such a rhino and such a snake that even my Facebook audience doesn't even like him. And I'm not trying to be rude because I like all my audiences, but I'm going to be honest. My Facebook audience is the most annoying because it's a lot of 50 plus people who are just so stubborn and close-minded, and they just are so obsessed with Trump. They can't take any sort of reporting about him, and they freak out. Even they don't like Henry McMaster. They were disappointed that Trump picked him. So it's why would this garbage governor that Republicans don't even like, that everybody, even the boomers hate, why would he be rewarded with a major position in Trump's council? Maybe because he passed the IHRA anti-Semitism laws. The more you look into this stuff, the more it seems like Trump is literally just taking our government and selling it out to a foreign country. I hope he's not, because sometimes he debates or something with Israel. They say there's a big standoff between J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Trump, Pete Hegseth, and then all the neocons. They're should we help Israel more? And there's this whole little standoff, which is a healthy debate to have within a government, which is fine. But all I'm saying is it's just a little bizarre that the first governor who passed the IHRA laws is now getting rewarded. Mark Levin is essentially Lindsey Graham, who sells himself well on, social media and media. I would say everybody under 40, 80% of Republicans probably don't like Mark Levin, but Mark Levin has captured the minds of boomers for sure. They call him the genius, he's got the chosen one or something, the great one. It's he's given himself this nickname. It's he's great at deception. He's great at controlled opposition. He's great at tricking Christians and conservatives to go fight wars for the bankers against their own interests. He's great for selling every neocon war ever. He's such a neocon. He's like the neocon of neocons. Even some neocons backed off the Ukraine war because they realized how unpopular it was on the right. Not Mark Levin. Mark Levin's been selling the Ukraine war for the last 3 years. He's the ultimate neocon. He's the ultimate snake. He mocks at the fact that people are suggesting that Zelensky's a plant. He's like, Zelensky's a plant. I mean, Putin's a plant. I'm not saying Putin's not a plant, but Zelensky was put on television as a comedian, as the president of the United States. They ran this show in Ukraine called The Servant of the People, and Zelensky was the president on television for 4 years. You're telling me that that's not some sort of government psyop? I don't know which government he's working for. I'm not going to say he's a CIA plant because I don't know that, but you're out of your mind if you think that our government didn't want him there. It's like the whole 2014 revolution. Then mysteriously, this pro-Western person who's basically just working for us, is on television for 4 years, brainwashing Ukrainians into thinking he's some outsider. And the second he gets in, all of a sudden, the NATO Western Alliance can start the war they've been secretly funding for a long time. It's you don't have to be pro-Russia to know that, but it's these are the people that get rewarded by Trump. It's just interesting. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know if it's really that big of a position, but the more neocons and the more swampers and the more IHRA anti-Semitism hate speech laws pushers that we have in government, the more likely that we're going to slowly lose a little bit of sovereignty. But I don't want to freak people out because, stay calm, stay reasonable, and, enjoy your life. America's amazing, and I don't want to be negative. But here's what I will say before I play this clip about the COVID stuff, and I want people to see it. Then I'll give a longer take. I made this. It took me an hour or two today for Instagram and stuff. I wish I could show the music with it because it's more powerful, but I'll get a copyright strike on YouTube and Facebook, so I can't. But I just want people to know this, whether you trust Trump or like Trump or whatever, I know there's a lot of people that follow me that don't trust Trump at all. Me being one of them, I like him sometimes, but I don't trust him. And even when I said I was voting for him, it's not like I voted for him because I trusted him. It's just I'm looking and I'm okay, I'd rather him in and people hold him accountable than let Mayorkas and Biden just open the borders and destroy our country. I never thought it would be smooth sailing, and I always knew I would have to do my job. But in general, you're kind of crazy if you do trust Donald Trump. It's they always play this left versus right Stockholm syndrome game where you're at least he's not the left. At least he's not Kamala. Sure. Yeah, I agree. At least he's not Kamala. But it doesn't mean you have to trust him. He did 15 days to slow the spread. Even when it was obvious that was a mistake, he extended the lockdown. He did Operation Warp Speed. He bragged about the lockdowns. He tweeted that it was his decision to lock every state down, not the governor's decision. I'm not saying that he's telling the truth about it, but he's never apologized for any of this stuff because he's not sorry because he's in on it. So it's like, even if you like Donald Trump, why would you trust our government when they locked us down in 2020? Like, they always play off of each other to make you hate the other side so much that then you start trusting the other side again. And it's like, you should never trust, like, even before they locked America down, this is a huge reason I got even more popular than I already was. It's like, I seemed crazy my whole life. And then when the government locks us down, now everybody's flocking to my channel because they're like, oh, that's the guy that I thought was crazy that told me the truth like 2 years ago, that obviously now it's true because I'm locked in my house and the government's trying to force a needle in my arm that's synthetic mRNA. They're printing trillions of dollars. Like, I can't leave my house. That, sadly, that helped me and helped a lot of people because everybody was stuck at home. Like, Tiger King was the biggest documentary ever because no one had anywhere to go because they're essentially slaves in their house. But the point that I'm trying to make is, like, before the lockdown, I understand why people would just like go along with everything. It's like, yeah, we've never been like done that dirty. I mean, we have, but it wasn't that obvious. After the lockdown, it's like, how could you possibly trust the government? Like, I guess people trust the government because they say, well, it was Biden who did that and Trump's the one who's going to save me. It's like, this is what they want you to think. I'm not asking you to hate Donald Trump, but it's like, even after a lockdown, people get out and they're like, oh, I see boomers on Facebook. They're like, how dare Rob Schneider and Ron Paul and Thomas Massey talk about Real ID? I'm a little bit indifferent on Real ID because I get like both sides of it. But here's the thing. I don't trust it at all. And everyone on my Facebook page is like, but Kristi Noem didn't create it. She's enforcing it. That's the point. Like, how do people not know that's the point that we're making? We're not saying that Kristi Noem came up with it. It was actually a Bush era, Patriot Act era op to some extent. So it's like, it's weird that Bush and the Patriot Act architects created this Real ID thing and they couldn't figure out how to implement it. And now Donald Trump and Kristi Noem are trying to implement it. It's just like, they needed Donald Trump to do 15 days to slow the spread, because if you had Hillary Clinton saying 15 days to slow the spread, no Republican's going to listen to Hillary Clinton. But when Donald Trump's there, he's the right character to usher this in. I'm getting the vaccine to fight China. I'm doing the lockdown to beat up the deep state. Like, only Trump could trick people with that. So I don't know what Real ID is. And I think they already have enough information on everyone to do whatever they want. So I'm not like really afraid of it. But I just, before I play this clip, I just find it fascinating that like boomers are just rushing to the defense of Real ID when I know for a fact if Mayorkas and Biden were the ones that were like, okay, hard deadline, Real ID is coming now, every one of these people would be like, yo, I don't trust it. But all you got to give them is like DHS Barbie doll with, her little doll face and then Donald Trump. And then they're making excuses for things that don't even make sense. It's like, I don't know if Real ID is going to be that bad or not, but you're crazy if you trust this government. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. We just got locked down 2 years ago. Donald Trump bragged, called himself the father of the vaccine, used socialist taxpayer money to fund it, and then said it saved 100 million lives. And people are still trusting the government. It's out of control. Here's the clip I wanted to show you guys that really explains what's going on covid.gov. And sorry to be a downer if this is a downer to you. To me, this is fun, but apparently to other people, this isn't what they want to hear. Here's why I don't buy anything that they're selling really on covid.gov, because you'll see. So the U.S. government has changed the covid.gov website to talk about the lab leak with this picture of Trump, mentioning China, the Wuhan lab multiple times, EcoHealth Alliance, and even Dr. Anthony Fauci. And while that's kind of cool, I guess, here's the part that they're never going to admit. Did a virus make you lock the country down? Did a virus make you print trillions of dollars? Did a virus make you do Operation Warp Speed? Did a virus make the Democrats mandate the product? And also predating the lockdown, Bill Gates came to Donald Trump in 2018 and said he got him interested in a universal flu vaccine idea, and Trump offered him a White House position. In 2019, in September, Trump passed an executive order to modernize vaccines, bringing together a bunch of different sectors of government under a task force. And then right before Trump left office after January 6th, he gave awards to Dr. Anthony Fauci, to Moncrief Slaoui, the vaccine guy, to Dr. Birx, and even General Milley, who he constantly fights with for the television. So a lot of people are wondering, is this all just theater to trick the boomer brains and Fox News brains into egging on this financial war with China, or some sort of fake disclosure that doesn't get to the root of the problem? And I'll end with this. I don't want to be gaslit into thinking that they couldn't figure this stuff out earlier, because with a laptop and a cell phone by myself, I was able to look at the data that they made public and realize they were lying on almost every level. And nearly everything they did was a tyrannical overreach. Are you telling me I could figure it out with a laptop and a cell phone, but the United States government couldn't figure it out for 3 years? When Trump did Operation Warp Speed and the Democrats mandated the vaccines, it's equivalent to John Stockton lobbing the ball in the air, Karl Malone dunking it in your face, and then John Stockton telling you, well, at least I wasn't the one who dunked it in your face. That's what government does. And it seems like they hope that people never figure that out. Let me know what you think in the comments. So Operation Warp Speed, that's my favorite analogy. People are finally seeing it on other socials because I usually just say it on my live stream, but it's like when you do 15 days to slow the spread, when you extend it to 30 days, when you print when you sign the CARES Act, when you literally government, like if you read the CARES Act, it was incentivizing all the things that everybody hated that Democrats did. A lot of the rules and policies that they were basing their tyranny off of were in the CARES Act. They got emergency special powers on a lot of different levels. CARES Act and not CARES Act to do all of this stuff. So it's like everything that Trump and Republicans did with the Democrats from March until he left office in January, including giving Fauci an award, it's lobbing the ball up to the Democrats. And then the Democrats take it, they dunk it in your face with extended lockdowns and mandates. And then the Republicans trick you into Stockholm syndrome. You fall in love with the person that's abusing you. And they're like, well, I didn't mandate it. It's like, yeah, for sure. But it would be like, you know, it's like Mao Zedong kills like 40 million people and you do like 30 million people. And you're like, well, at least I didn't do what Mao Zedong did. That's called an Overton window. It's like now because you're pointing to like the most evil thing I've ever seen in my life, now you just being one step to the side of it isn't that crazy. It's like to me, that's the equivalent, not in the deaths. I'm not saying like that might be a slight exaggeration, but it's like, you know, Mao Zedong killing 40 million people, someone killing 35 million people and being like, well, I only killed 35 million. To me, 40 and 35, that's as close as Trump is to the Democrats. It's like, did he mandate it? No, but I knew it was going to be, I called mandated vaccines in 2019. Before the lockdown even happened, I said mandated vaccines are around the corner. Republicans don't know what they're talking about. Democrats are brainwashed into universal health care. I saw this happening. Once again, I could pretend like I'm a prophet to, you know, maybe fundraise off like my genius or something. But the truth is, yeah, I'm not an idiot, but I'm not a prophet in the sense of like I'm getting visions from God at night and I just tell you this stuff. I do research for a living. The reason I knew mandated vaccines were coming in 2019 is because they were pushing them in 2019 and nobody in Republican media says anything unless it's like just this circle jerk, everyone else just saying the same stupid talking point. And so everybody was ignoring it. Me, Candace Owens, Dr. Shiva, there were very few people who covered this in 2019. And then in 2020, they start rolling out a vaccine. I said before they locked the country down, I was like, they're going to mandate a vaccine. They didn't even have a vaccine available. And I said they were going to mandate one. I know the game. So it's like, if you know they're going to mandate a vaccine and they're already trying to, if you do Operation Warp Speed and use emergency powers to rush it out, of course they're going to mandate a vaccine. And even if Trump won the election, federally, it wouldn't have been mandated, but there still would have been a battle over the states and corporations to mandate the vaccine. And like Republicans do on everything, they would have flopped like a fish and done nothing because they never do anything. They're just fake opposition. So these are the things that people have to realize. And I was talking to a friend yesterday who does, you know, stuff in politics, but she's not like a news host, you know, so it's not her job to like research all the time. Anyway, we were talking about Amy Coney Barrett, and I was like, you know, I knew before the lockdown or before Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed that she was a bad judge and she was a pro-lockdown liar. And my friends told me, like, I didn't know that. You know, I actually didn't know that. And I told them, I was like, well, you know, I'm not blaming you because you're not a news host. It's not your job. But the thing is, people like that, they're believing their feed. It's like you want to believe the Republicans and the friends you have in politics in your feed telling you this stuff. So it's like if your feed is filled with Amy Coney Barrett slop, you turn on Fox News and they're like, she's amazing. She's fighting the Democrats. DC Drano's shilling for her. David Harris Jr. You know, all these people are like, she's so great, blah, blah, blah. You're assuming that they're news aggregates because they are to some extent. That's what they're doing. They're aggregating the news. But you're thinking, well, they're not the left, so they're telling me the truth. And since she's the right, she must be the truth. This is the reason I knew that before everybody is because I'm one of the only people in this industry that does my job. If your feed were filled with anomalies, you would know Amy Coney Barrett was a fraud. You would know the real data. You would know Operation Warp Speed was a scam. Like, all of this stuff would be obvious. If Dan Bongino watched my show, he wouldn't have got vaccinated. He got vaccinated because he's so pro-Trump that he thought that the American vaccine beats the China virus, which is, to me, the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But to him, that's logical because he lives in this world where that's how he thinks. I don't know what to, he's probably surrounded by people that think similar stuff. So, I know why people don't know anything. It's because 95% of the Republican journalists and news analysts, they're not analyzing the news or doing journalism. They're literally just pushing out stupid, dumb brain propaganda to make everybody's brains go mush. And the reason I brought up the Amy Coney Barrett stuff is it's the same thing with like every topic. It's like, I knew mandated vaccines were coming in 2019. I started talking about the IHRA anti-Semitism hate speech laws in 2019. Nobody wanted to cover it. Now they're going around the country and basically trying to kick out any non-criminal that criticizes Israel. It's like, this was all, once you read the legislation, they're going to enforce the legislation. I forget her name, but there was a woman, I wish I could give her credit, but I literally don't remember her name. There was a woman who made a video in 2019 and she was freaking out and she was like, oh my God, they're going to lock the country down and do mandated vaccines. And like, it was an epic video because it went viral after the lockdown, because it was like, holy crap, that lady in her car knew everything that was going to happen. And it's like, how did she know? She found the executive order even before I did, which is Trump signed an executive order in 2019 of September, establishing a task force, bringing together almost every branch of government to push the modernizing of a flu vaccine. And it just so happened to be what Bill Gates told him about in 2018. So it's like, there's evidence that that Donald Trump is literally just pushing Bill Gates's agenda even before the lockdown. Yet no Republican journalist wants to ask Donald Trump about this, because then they'll lose their access to Netanyahu, Trump, and Mar-a-Lago. So they're basically paid opposition at this point. I'm not saying they're literally paid to do it, but it's like their whole life revolves around being incentivized to not tell you about this stuff. Like, Amy Coney Barrett's great until she's not. There's this until it's not. So with all the COVID stuff, it's like the obvious angle to me is that, there's a lot of discussion, especially now, of what the virus really was. At first, they said it came from like a pangolin or a wet market. I think they're still trying to push that narrative on the website, which sounds ridiculous, or a bat. It came from a bat. The Wu flu came in bat soup. It's like, so every bat soup ever, wasn't creating a worldwide virus, but now it did in 2020. Sure. I don't know what they originally said. It's a real natural virus. Now they're saying it's a fake virus. And there's a lot of people out there that say that there is no virus. I mean, David Icke got banned from Facebook for saying that. There's a lot of people that are trying to talk about terrain theory. And, there's all these sort of theories. Here's my thing. I've looked into it and I don't have enough evidence to really take a stance either way. I wish I did. I've looked at all the information. It's just kind of like, I'm not 100% sure. I try to be sure about, I try to be accurate about what I talk about. But here's what I will say. No matter where you think the virus came from, if you think it's as bad as they said it is, if you don't even think it's real at all, it doesn't change the fact that they're like, none of this made them do any of that. Like I said in that video, so I won't be too long-winded about it. The virus, whether it was there or what it was, or if it wasn't there, like, it didn't make them print the money. It didn't make them lock the country down. It certainly didn't make Donald Trump work with Bill Gates years before it even happened. It didn't fund Pfizer. Like, none of this had to happen. So it's like the left will lie about everything. So what's the point of even listening to them? There's nothing. The left doesn't tell any truth. It's like they're such bad opposition that they make Trump look amazing because they're so bad. And I think that's how the show works. It's like, let's make the Democrats so fake and so gay and so stupid to the point where, Trump looks like a hero. It's like, well, he didn't lock the country down longer. They did. It's like, but he printed trillions of dollars like Karl Marx on steroids and funded the vaccine industry. He just like that. Honestly, if Trump doesn't turn it around and do some good this time, there's an argument that he's one of the worst presidents, maybe outside of Joe Biden, who is even worse. It's like Biden and Trump might be the two worst presidents in modern history. I mean, it's like, I hope Trump does a better job this time. I'd love to see him save his legacy, but most of it is just hypotheticals based off of Stockholm syndrome. It's like, he had to print trillions of dollars. He had to lock the country down. He had to brag about it. He had to say it saved 100 million lives. He had to sign the CARES Act. It's like he didn't have to do any of that stuff. He just did it. And then he would go on television. Nobody even caught this because they don't pay attention. But Trump constantly went on television and said, you know, I did a better job than Obama did when it came to swine flu because Obama, you know, didn't do what I did. And I'm like, during swine flu, they tried to fearmonger, but it didn't work that well. There was no lockdown. There was no mandated vaccine. I'm sure they made a vaccine, but you know, when I was growing up, I didn't hear much about it because they didn't like lock the country down and get as far. So it's like, I don't like Obama at all. I don't trust Obama at all. I think he's horrible, but now Trump is trying to trick Republicans into thinking that he did a better job by locking the country down, printing trillions of dollars and selling a vaccine than Obama, who didn't do any of those things over swine flu. Like, Trump is such a good salesman. He could sell a lockdown and a vaccine rollout as if it's Trump University or like a golden, you know, golf course in Scotland. And then he's like, yeah, but the guy who didn't do any of that really messed up. It's like, are you suggesting that if you were president then, you would have done all those same things? Like, you actually didn't do a better job than he did on that virus. By default, he did a better job because he didn't lock the country down or, you know, use taxpayer funds and to print trillions of dollars. Like, that's, and hand everybody a AOC COVID check. Like, that's, you blew it, bro. And he has no shame. Like, it's not like, oh, I made a mistake. Everyone that follows him says he's making mistakes. He's never admitted fault. Like, you want him to have made a mistake because that means he's still a good character. What if he's not sorry? Then your whole, you know, people's whole worldview shatters and they're like, oh my gosh, no way. Then what am I going to do? I don't know. Be a man. Stop being such a pathetic sports ball fan for a guy that hates you. You know, I don't know. Like, what else could you possibly do? So it's like, are they going to go after Fauci for this? I don't see how they could possibly do. I mean, maybe they'll go after EcoHealth Alliance and Peter Daszak, but from reading that article, although it did have a lot of stuff about U.S. involvement, which I did like, they're starting a war with China, like, you know, an economic war, a financial war, but we've started basically World War III. I'm not trying to scare people, but it's like Israel's just blasting Palestine and they're justifying whatever they do. They're like, we can kill every woman, child. It's like, whoa, that's kind of crazy, but I guess I have to say it's not, or else maybe Trump will arrest me for anti-Semitism. Like, Trump's a psychopath now, but okay, yeah, for sure. That's totally amazing. Please, okay, our IRA, let me read the IHRA anti-Semitism laws. I'm a good boy. I'm an American. Let me read my hate speech laws that I have for the donors that I can't say pay Trump off because that's anti-Semitism. It's like donors are paying Trump to pass speech laws to say that you can't say that they're paying off Trump to sell out the country. Oh yeah, that's totally pro-America. It's like, does Mark Levin tell you that's awesome or something? Or maybe Henry McMaster, the architect of it, or the first one to pass it, the pioneer, I would say. Okay. It's like Trump starting this economic war against China right now with the tariffs. Personally, I don't really care because it's like, okay, America versus China. I get it. It's interesting. But once you really read into it, I don't want to play the clip again because I've already showed people, but George Soros wants to break China as well. It's not like this is some right-wing idea of like, yo, we need to crush the nation of China. George Soros has written op-eds that Vivek Ramaswamy has retweeted saying, well said, George Soros, you know, they're an enemy to open societies. Why would Vivek Ramaswamy want China to be an open society? Do you know what George Soros means when he says open societies? It's not that difficult to know what George Soros means by open societies because he runs Open Societies Foundations, and you can just go to his website and just see what he funds and what he does. It's like what he's doing is the opposite of Republican politics all over the world, and like most countries are like despising it. Yet now Republicans have the same exact foreign policy on China as George Soros. Like what plans do they have for China? I've told people this before, and I'll tell you again. All the evidence points towards the liberal gay world order of the West, or whatever you want to call it, the Zionist American Alliance, or the, you know, liberal world order, as Mike Pompeo calls it. I joke around about it because it's funny, but in general, it's like the Western order, the ones that are funding Ukraine, etc. What do they want to do? Think about around the world. Which nations are a big threat to the liberal gay world order that is just basically destroying Europe, destroying America? Like everything they touch, they destroy. If Europe were crushing and America were crushing, I'd be like, for sure, let's go, you know, fight China and Russia and make them cooler. But it's like, how are we Like, what are you going to do to what's an open society in China? You want to flood the borders? You want to turn St. Petersburg into San Francisco? This is what these people want to do. Like, it's like, oh, Putin, like, what does Putin need? Does he need to be like Pete Buttigieg? Like, what are we going to give to them? So in general, Russia is a strong nation. They're Christian. They're homogenous for the most part. I mean, there's some diversity there, but it's like it's a massive nation that understands its culture, its religion, and its ethnicity, and the slight differences between the people there, the Muslims, etc. They have it somewhat figured out. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's one of the strongest nations in the world, definitely one of the biggest ones. And same with China. These are two of the biggest nations in the world that are so big that they don't have to listen to the liberal gay world order of Mike Pompeo and the George Soroses of the world. So, and in fact, there's proof that George Soros and Open Society Foundation, they're not big fans of China and Russia because they're not allowed to run all over it and turn it into San Francisco or whatever they're trying to do. So it's like, what does Trump want to do with China? You know what I'm saying? By blaming the Wuhan on, it's like, yeah, okay, let's just say it's the lab. Did Eco Health Alliance, like you said, and Peter Daszak, like, let's just say that is true. I don't even know if it is at this point, but like, are you going to hold American politicians accountable, or are you just going to use it as blackmail against China to try to crush them, to just turn them into San Francisco? Like, it's the same with Russia. Like, I'm not a big Russia fanatic by any means. I'm an American, but like, what do you want to do with Russia? What's the point of the Russia-Ukraine war? The point is Russia was helping people in the Middle East, like Syria, and they need to weaken Russia at all costs in the same way that they want to just blow people up in the Middle East and take their land. Like, that's what people have been doing for a decade. And a lot of people, and I'm not trying to be rude and I'm not trying to seem hateful, because I'm not, I'm just being honest. So many people that are like, Zionist firsters and all they read is Zionist media, they're like, I don't like neocons like Lindsey Graham, but I like Mark Levin. Or they'll be like, I don't like neocons like, Lindsey Graham, but Marco Rubio is doing a great job. It's like the neocon agenda is the Zionist agenda. It's the same thing. Like, why do you think neocons wanted to go to the Middle East? Why do you think neocons wanted to go after Iraq? Why do you think neocons wanted to go after, Russia? Like, it's the same thing. Some people are like more extreme than others in their ideology, but most of what America is doing in foreign policy is for Israel. And then it's like, well, the Iraq war was a lie. They'll tell you that 10 years later. But while it was going on, they called you a terrorist. And this is a point that I really want to make, because this is kind of falling on deaf ears. When it comes to the COVID stuff, if they were like, listen, we messed up, we made a mistake. First of all, it's too late to actually do anything about it. But it would be good if we learn from our mistakes, right? Like, let's get ahead of this to make sure they don't release another thing, or, shut down the country again, or sell vaccines. Is there any evidence that they're learning their lesson? Trump is funding and working with AI people like Larry Ellison and Sam Altman. And there's all this talk of like AI mRNA vaccines of some sort. I don't even know exactly what they're talking about or what it is, but it's like, doesn't sound like something I want the government to fund. And then it's like they're doing some bird flu. They got this new vaccine that they're working on, this mRNA stuff. So it's like, are they learning from all the things they made? Not only has Trump never apologized, but they're doing the same things now, proving that they haven't learned a damn thing. And then you move to the Iraq war situation, and it's like you have Caroline Leavitt and the Republican administration admitting that the Iraq war was a lie. They used it against Goldberg, the Goldberg Democrat Atlantic guy. When Signalgate came out, they said, he was an architect of the Iraq war. He's a liar. He's a Democrat. And I said, if he's a Democrat, if he's a liar, and he's the architect of the Iraq war, one of them, which you agree was a lie, Caroline Leavitt, why is he on a group? Who's adding him to a group chat? Doesn't that just prove it's one big club and we're not in it? If he, like, it would be like if I was doing a group chat and I mistakenly added David Hogg. It's like the story isn't that David Hogg is a liar. The story is that someone's so close to him that they're like best friends to the point where their contact is so high up that they just mistakenly add him to a group chat. Like, that is the story, but the gaslighting is ridiculous. So anyway, the Iraq war is now a lie, right? From 2001 to probably 2015, if you spoke against the wars, they called you a terrorist. They said you were, anti-America, you hated America, and you were a terrorist. Now, because they admit the Iraq war is a lie, are they now learning the lesson from the Iraq war? No. The Trump administration is still running around calling everybody who disagrees with the new war a terrorist, the new neocon war. He's now labeling people as anti-Semites according to an international definition that he's pushing into America against the First Amendment. Texas is pushing it into elementary schools. Now, an elementary school student is going to be policed by the Texas government about what they say about who killed Jesus, or there needs to be dual loyalty Ben Shapiro laws in Texas that say you can't say Ben Shapiro has dual loyalty. Yeah, they need to, the Texas government needs to enforce that on elementary school students. Like, what are you doing? So it's like, to people that just blindly like politicians, they'll be like, Caroline Leavitt's blonde and she's young and she looks cool, so I like her because she's a badass fighting the left. But when you look at all the stuff they're doing, it's like they're admitting the Iraq war is a lie, but while the Iraq war was going on, they called everybody terrorists who disagree. And now there's a new war that they're funding, that they're going even further than George W. Bush went. Not only are they calling people terrorists, but they've actually pushed speech laws into America, trying to enforce a real ID, which comes from the Bush-era Patriot Act people. And then they got a bunch of stupid, brainless boomers on Facebook being like, I don't get why Rob Schneider doesn't like real ID. I don't get why Thomas Massey doesn't like real ID. I don't get why Ron Paul doesn't like real ID, because you guys are just as dumb as you were during the Bush era. It's like, you guys like Trump so much. You're doing the same things, calling people terrorists, rolling out Patriot Act era censorship stuff. Go ask AI without a huge explanation. Say, from now, like TSA, how many terrorists have they caught since they've been rolling out all of these new policies? You know what it says? 0. They've caught 0 people, yet they've been just annoying everybody at airports for the last 20, 30 years. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting checked at the airport if they actually caught people once in a while, but it's like they haven't even caught a single terrorist. Do you know why? Because if you do enough research, you'll realize who the terrorists are. And a lot of times it's who the United States is funding. Sorry, this is not even like controversial anymore. All of these organizations in the Middle East, like, we're going to fight them. They're running Syria right now. And people should be sick to their stomach. But the stupid boomers on Facebook should be sick to their stomach that they did all of these wars in the Middle East to fight Al-Qaeda, to go after that organization. And now that organization is essentially running Syria, and they don't have a problem with it because they probably funded them. It's like, you guys are so stupid. Right? We're fighting the terrorists. No, idiot. You've been funding the terrorists your whole life, ruining the entire country for future generations. And with every last breath that you have, you're going to sit on Facebook with a 60 IQ, just slobbering at the mouth over the same things that George W. Bush are doing, because you don't want to step up to politicians. It's like, well, I like Donald Trump. Yeah, dummy, you like George Bush too. That's why America's in a hole right now. And your kids and your kids' kids aren't going to get to experience the same things that you guys experienced. Life was better when I was young. I know, and you ruined America for the next generations. It's like, yeah, you fell for George Bush for 15 years. You didn't like Obama, then you got Donald Trump, and you fell for him for 10 years. You're not any better. It's like, if he's rolling out the same exact stuff, if he's calling everybody who disagrees with with the Middle East policies a terrorist, and now he's using the federal government and local governments to literally police speech, to police thoughts, to police schools, to make every school in America a safe space where you can't criticize one race, one religion, one foreign country. Not just criticize, you can't even compliment them. There's compliment laws where it's like, even complimenting us is too much, because then that means you notice that we're doing something and we just don't even want to talk about it at all. And then you got idiots like Marco Rubio sitting here complaining about what Democrats are doing, like these scumbags aren't doing the same exact thing right now. Every single thing he says in this clip is what him and the Trump administration are doing for anti-Semitism. What an idiot.
And then really the kicker was, not only were they doing all that formally from the State Department, but they were taking State Department money and they were giving it to these third-party groups who were supposed to be like independent, verified arbiters of what's true and what isn't, what's good and what's bad. And these groups were deliberately targeting, I believe you were one of the ones they targeted, I think the Federalists, began putting labels on people. Now, you may say, okay, well, what's the importance of the label? Well, that's not just the issue here. The issue is not only did they put labels on people, that was then used to go to social media companies. It was used to go to outlets and say, you have to deplatform these people.
They're doing the same thing now, doofus. Every single great Republican, from Ron Paul, was smeared as an anti-Semite his entire career. Thomas Massey, our greatest congressman who votes by the Constitution, he's been smeared as an anti-Semite his whole career. Matt Gaetz has been smeared as an anti-Semite. I'm sure Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene have been smeared as an anti-Semite. Donald Trump has been smeared as an anti-Semite. Candace Owens has been smeared as an anti-Semite. Tucker Carlson, who barely says anything about Israel, has been smeared as an anti-Semite because he knows what's going on and is subtly telling boomers. It's like, that label? You mean that label that you're enforcing, Marco Rubio? You mean that label that's being passed as hate speech laws into America? You mean that label that matches the international definition that Canada and Australia and Europe are promoting? You mean that definition that the government is now weaponizing and on their State Department website says that they're policing? You mean that label? They're doing the same thing. And to be clear as well, the reason they were going after Trump and the government was going after all these Republicans during a Democrat administration is because they're not just going after random people. They like to go after anybody that knows what's going on. So during COVID, they used the whole Gretchen Whitmer case that ended up being a bunch of feds anyway, or more feds than regular people. And they were like, look, anti-lockdown people are terrorists. People who don't like vaccines are anti-vaxxer, they're terrorists. They always exaggerate, in some cases use false flags or setups or, whatever you want to call them, in order to justify policing everybody's speech. They said people who opposed the Iraq war were terrorists. They said people who opposed the Syrian war were working for foreign countries, just like Marco Rubio. That's why they were calling Trump all these things, because Trump why did Tulsi Gabbard get put on a government watch list? What did Tulsi Gabbard do, right? She was a Democrat. Now she's a Republican or whatever. What did she do to get on a government watch list during Biden's administration? It was her foreign policy. She disagreed with the war in Syria, and she flew to Syria to meet with Bashar al-Assad, which is really ballsy. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. But then also, she was talking about biolabs in Ukraine and questioning the Ukraine-Russia war. That's why she was put on a terrorist group. That's why Trump was considered a terrorist. Any Republican against the lockdown was considered a threat. Any Republican against the vaccine was considered a threat. Anybody talking about forced masking, they tried to act like was dangerous. And anybody who opposes the war in Israel, the war in Ukraine, or the war in Syria is considered a terrorist, or they start to lie and say you're working for a foreign country because you're just noticing that they're the ones funding the terrorist organizations and screwing up the Middle East and America. So it's like the gall that Marco Rubio has to say all these things that they were doing, while he damn well knows that he's still doing it and his administration's doing it for their donors and their foreign policy now, is just shocking. But the real question is, why does anybody believe this stuff? Why does anybody watch that interview and be like, oh, wow, they're really unraveling what they're doing the same thing. They're just picking and choosing which wars they do it to or not. They'll be like, well, Trump's not a terrorist now because he's the president, but this person is because they're doing the same thing that Trump used to do. But like now we have a problem with it if it's this country. But if it's not this country, then we don't have a problem with it. And Americans should be allowed to disagree with wars, and especially wars we can't vote our way out of. There's a few of them, but let's just say Yemen and Israel and Palestine, like that whole thing. When Biden's in office, they're still doing that. When Trump's in office, they're still doing that. An American citizen can't vote their way out of that war. I know if you watch Zionist Republican media, you think that the Biden administration is pro-Palestine and he's doing all this stuff. In reality, tens of thousands of Palestinians were slaughtered during Biden's administration. He funds Israel. He calls himself a proud Zionist. Is he as pro-Israel as Trump? Probably not, I guess, if you had to compare. But this idea that Chuck Schumer and Biden and the Democrats aren't pro-Israel is a Zionist media trick in order to make you more extreme on that side. It's like, I'm not asking you to like Joe Biden, but it's like he funded Israel. He gave them weapons. He allowed them to kill tens of thousands of people, and he never stopped giving them money. And now Trump goes even further. The point that I'm trying to make is, as a voter, I can't vote my way out of this topic. I don't have an option. There's literally no chance. It's either like status quo with Joe Biden, roll the dice with Donald Trump. It could get better. It could get worse. Even a lot of Muslims voted for Donald Trump. Trump won the same district that Rashida Tlaib won. And people said, oh, that proves that the election's rigged. It doesn't prove that the election's rigged. What it proves is that some people care about this and they're willing to vote for Rashida Tlaib because she cares about this a lot. And then they're willing to vote for Donald Trump because Joe Biden, more people at first was dying under Biden than under Trump. Like there was no Israel-Palestine massive conflict like this under Trump. So a lot of people thought, well, let's return to that guy. Let's see what he can do. So in general, I can't vote my way out of this. This is what annoys me. If I can't vote my way out of a topic, all I can do is talk about it. But if the government is trying to police my speech of what I say about it and say that I could say this about any country in the world except for Israel, I could talk about this with any group of people except for this race and this religion. It's like, then what am I? What is this country? It's not even America anymore. So, it's so annoying to see that Marco Rubio, I know he knows he's lying. And the Trump administration is fumbling the bag massively on that topic. We'll see what happens. It's definitely not working for public PR relations, but it is turning America closer into a police state. All right, I'm going to read a few comments. I said I'm going to keep this under an hour, so let's make this next 5 minutes as fun as possible. Let me see. Let's read a few. Someone said Conor McGregor is, I don't think that's true, but let me try to read. Anybody got something good to say or no? Someone said Trump doesn't care about censorship, guaranteed there's someone above him. Well, here's a point too, as I'm looking for other comments. If someone's above Trump and you like Trump, but he's not really calling the shots, okay, then let's stop acting like he's really calling the shots and let's use the power of our citizenry, our free speech, our peaceful activism to let them know we know. The game ends when people let them know they know. They get away with this stuff because if you go to Turning Point USA, which I might go to this year to try to do interviews, like it's actually sad because you have people like Ted Cruz and Rick Scott, total frauds, total politicians, total losers. They're on stage and people are cheering like it's Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney in the 70s. Like they're like, oh my God, Ted Cruz. It's like you got like 25-year-old chicks like crying to see Ted Cruz. It's like he's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? And he's a fraud. He's slightly better on some topics, but he's compromised. You know what I'm saying? He's a liar. And these are your heroes. Like we don't have journalists doing reporting. Ted Cruz got a vaccine and then said that he thought that only vaccinated people should be able to take their masks off on airplanes. If we had a real media network, everybody would have been talking about this. Yet I'm one of the only ones who covered it. You know, like, why am I the only one who noticed that Ted Cruz wanted to do vaccination segregation and give special rights to vaccinated people on airplanes? Like, that's kind of crazy. Yet nobody wants to talk about this stuff. If Trump's not in control, whether he is or isn't, this needs to be the message anyway. These people are way too comfortable and way too confident just selling us out because most Republicans have Stockholm syndrome. And it's like the boomer brains. And I say boomer brains because it's not just boomers, but it's the people with boomer brains. They're like, what are you saying? That Kamala's good? No. Are you saying Joe Biden would have been better? No, I voted for Trump. What are you? It's like these are such, it's like caveman logic. It's like blue bad, so red good. If you say red bad, then blue good. Blue must be good, red bad. Bad good, good bad, left right. And it's like, is your IQ in single digits? Do you need a Neuralink chip in your head from Elon Musk? They're like, I'd love that because Tesla's my favorite now because I love Trump and David Harris posts about Tesla 5 days a week. Cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just ridiculous. It's like they can't figure out. It's like you can like Trump more than Biden. You can vote Republican, but then you can understand how it works to hold him accountable. I don't need more speech laws in order to try to shut me down from what I'm saying. Trump takes hundreds of millions of dollars from dual loyalty donors. That means donors that have more loyalty to a foreign country than America. Dual loyalty would be a nice thing. It's like they care more about a foreign country than America. Trump's taking hundreds of millions of dollars from them. That's why he's doing a lot of this stuff. If Trump took hundreds of millions of dollars from somebody who said, don't pass IHRA, anti-Semitism speech laws in America, then he wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're all working for the people paying them. Somebody asked me recently and they said, Trump has so much money. Like, do you really think he would sell out for that much money? Here's what people need to realize about Trump and Elon. Elon's a lot richer than Trump. But the thing is, Trump's money is in his valuation. I'm not going to get into how much Trump has in the bank because I have no idea. He's way richer than me, and he's definitely one of the richer people in the country. Not like top 5, but he's rich. How much of that is cash? How much of that is properties he owns? You know, how much of Elon's money is cash? How much of it is the Tesla stock? When the stock goes down, Elon's net worth goes down. When Trump's property values go up, his net worth goes up. His net worth is in the value of his properties. I'm not saying he's broke. He's one of the richer people in the country. But what I'm saying is like $100 million is a lot of money. That like Trump doesn't have $200 billion. Trump has like a couple billion, maybe 10 billion or something. I'm not really sure, but it's like, so 100, you think he's using his own money to run for office? No, he said he was going to in 2016 when he said he was not going to take other people's monies. 100 million is a crap load of money that Trump is not trying to spend out of his own pocket. So it's like, do I think that he's doing like, it's not that easy to be like, I'm going to fund a multi-billion-dollar campaign on my own. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to take small donations and big donations because you don't want to use your own money. I get it. But if you give $50, you can buy a Trump hat. If you give Trump $400 to $500 million, I think the Adelson family over the last decade gave Republicans over $500 million. You don't think that they're calling a lot of the shots? Trump has admitted that they are. He says they come in the White House more than anyone, and that they're always asking for things for Israel. So it's like, they're never going to stop doing this until people call it out. Peacefully, respectfully, call it out. Once the base calls this out, it'll change. But a politician does this masterful thing of like, they're able to balance both sides. I'm going to go a little over an hour, and I'm embarrassed and ashamed to do so, but I'm keeping it under 105. So it's not good for the marketing. I think it looks better when it's under an hour. Too bad. I got to do it. But in general, it's like, a politician will talk to the donors, do what the donors want, and then come on stage and convince you that they're not taking money from donors. Like, that's what a politician does. Trump's a brilliant politician. He does some good things, but it's never going to stop with all these boomer brains that are like, I like Elon and Trump. It's like, cool. That's awesome. Elon's cool. Trump's a cool guy. Great. I'm glad you like him. Are you ever going to pay attention and have your own brain and your own thought process? Or are you just going to like run back and forth? And it's like, come on. Let me read a few comments. We got 4 more minutes. I extended some time, so let's make it. Someone said Gen X or 50s. I don't want to be I don't care who it is, dude. Call it whatever generation you want. I just think boomer brain is a good title for it. We get it. Less than 30 minutes, please. I got 5 minutes left. Wonder who Anomaly's biggest donor is. I don't have any big donors, so I mean, you could wonder, you could speculate, but I've created a business model for myself. I've been employed for, I think since 2018, I've only worked this job, and I found a way to stay afloat without major donors. But let me give you another example, and I'm not trying to pick on people, but it's just the truth. I guarantee if he were watching this now, he'd be like a little annoyed, but he knows I'm telling the truth. Charlie Kirk came out recently and started calling out a little bit of the anti-Semitism censorship, because some guy was on stage saying he was cool with people being jailed to some extent in other countries, and like Candace and Tucker flirting on those lines. It was a little bit weird. Charlie came out and he like defended Candace Owens from literally being thrown in prison. And, Charlie Kirk started it out and he said, I'm one of the most pro-Israel non-Jews in America, or I am the most pro-Israel non-Jew in America. Like, you can't say I'm anti-Semitic, essentially. Like, I'm him. He's can I say, is goy a derogatory term? Like, he's that goy. I know, like, they'll say I'm like, I just think it's funny to call Charlie Kirk that. A Gentile. That's the proper term. Never mind. Sorry. Charlie Kirk is a good Gentile. He's, he's the most pro-Israel Gentile in America, according to himself, or whatever. Okay. Here's my question. Listen, I'm just asking questions, okay? I'm just asking questions. Maybe Charlie Kirk really feels that way in his heart, and that's a beautiful thing. I know Christians who aren't getting paid who love Israel as well. So I'm not accusing Charlie of this. I'm just asking the question. Would Charlie Kirk be the most pro-Israel Gentile in America if he wasn't taking tens of millions of dollars for his for his organizations from pro-Israel donors that he knows damn well that he'll get in trouble with if he ever acts like Candace Owens? Or is it coming from his religion and his actual thoughts? I think it's coming from the fact that he takes donor money. When Candace started going off and Charlie was using her for promotion, he made part of a Turning Point website. It was tpusa.com/Israel. And it was like, he was like, I'm Charlie Kirk, and I'm just letting you know that I completely disagree with Candace Owens. It was basically like a shout to his donors. He was like, please don't stop giving me money. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm not Candace Owens. I swear it's not me. We will continue to do this. We will continue to fight for Israel. It's like, we know why Charlie Kirk's doing this. He's doing it because he takes tens of millions of dollars in donations from pro-Israel people that control what he's allowed to say or not say through pressure of knowing if he ever said it, that he might lose it. It would be like, let's just say Pfizer was giving me millions of dollars and I disagreed with their vaccine rollout. I would know the money would stop if I started talking about it. So it's not a direct message that they give you, but you just know, if you question them, then you might lose the money. So it's like this, when Charlie Kirk says he's like the most pro-Israel Gentile or whatever, it's like, is it because you actually think that? Or is it because your organizations rely on tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars at this point, from donors? That's why Charlie Kirk acts like a politician, because he is a politician in the sense of he does the same game politicians are doing. He is funded by donors. Ted Cruz is funded by donors. Donald Trump is funded by donors. Don't you find it a little bit weird that all the Republicans who are funded by the same donors have identical messages on the top? You think they just randomly all came together and were like, you know what? I hate so much that I'm going to pass an international definition of anti-Semitism into America that matches what Canada, the UK, Europe, Germany, France, and Australia and Argentina are passing. They all just came to this conclusion because they're just so loving. They just love one group so much, and they just love Israel so much that they just came up with the same international definition that literally like the whole world is passing. And they're like, you know what? I agree with that definition because they're not loving. I love people more than, and I'm not trying, it's not like a competition. It's not like a Mr. Rogers showdown or anything, but it's like, I'm nicer than these people. I'm kinder. I'm more thoughtful. I love people from every country. I don't hate anybody from any country. I don't hate Chinese people. I don't hate Palestinians. I don't hate Israelis. I don't hate Russians. I'm a really, like, I don't look at the whole world and blame their government. Like, I like people from everywhere. I like Jews. I like Christians. I like Muslims. A lot of these people, they're filled with hate, aka just what the donors are like, oh, push this narrative, and they're like yelling. I'm not a hateful guy. They convince you that they just love people so much. If they love people so much, Mike Pompeo, right? He's so pro-Israel. What was he saying when there were vaccine passports in Israel? Remember when Israel allegedly was under like vaccine tyranny and like they couldn't go anywhere without a vaccine passport? Where were all of these Zionist people who suck up donor money? Where were they? Where were they on stage being like, Israelis, I'm so sorry that you're facing, pharmaceutical tyranny. Like, I got you. They were siding with the pharmaceutical companies and the government of Israel. They don't give a shit about Israelis. They don't give a shit about Jewish people. They don't give a shit about Christians. They don't give a shit about Americans. They don't give a shit about anybody. It's like they're literally just lying. It's like, and then they'll stand on stage and be like, they're so hateful and I'm so nice. If you really liked Israelis, you would have talked about the pharmaceutical tyranny like I did that they were facing, just like Australia and America and everybody. It's like these people are just they do the same thing Democrats do. The same thing Democrats do with Black and Hispanic is what Republicans do with Jewish. And the reason is not because they love them so much. The reason is because they love the money they get so much. Charlie Kirk loves donor money. Ted Cruz loves donor money. And Ted Cruz likes getting invited to events where they treat him like Ringo Starr, even though he looks and acts completely disgusting. Like, I'd rather look at like anything than Ted Cruz. He's like disgusting to look at. He looks like mashed potato with gravy. If you like shake it up and throw it against the wall and it like slides down, like that's what his face looks like. And I say that because as a man, he thought that I should have to wear a mask on an airplane, but he didn't have to wear a mask because he got a vaccine. It's like, on what planet, Mr. Sloppy potato salad looking filth, do you think that you deserve special privileges over me now because you got a vaccine? Is he out of his mind? This is what a real alpha says. We don't have real alpha. And I'm not trying to like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to like flex on everybody like this is a Jim Bro compilation, but I'm just saying it's like all these cucky, like loser guys that are sucking up donor money and selling out the country. It's like they're Mr. Tough Guy when they're yelling at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on their webcam, but when they're in person with Ted Cruz, they're like, oh, you're so great. We get the same donor money, Ted Cruz. You're so cool. He's not cool. Not only is he controlled by a foreign country like almost every Republicans that they don't want to talk about, he was pushing vaccine segregation. Why is no one asked a question about it? America's passing hate speech laws for Israel, and I don't think one politician's ever been asked a question about it. Why is no one asking Trump about this question? Do you know why? Because if they brought it to your attention on Fox News and Newsmax and Charlie Kirk and all these news stations, if they brought it to your attention, you would be like, holy crap, they're pushing speech laws in America. So they can't talk about it because if they talk about it, they have to admit it's true. And if they admit it's true and show you what it says, 95% of the base is not going to agree with it and they're going to oppose it. And if they oppose it, then their donors get mad because they want global speech laws in every country. They want them in Australia. They want them in America. They want them in Argentina. And they're throwing people in prison as we speak in other countries for it. You don't think they want it? You think the people throwing people in prison in Germany for hate speech and the people who are throwing people in prison in Argentina for hate speech, you don't think they want to do that in America? You think they think, I want to jail people for anti-Semitism, hate speech, and questioning history in Germany and Australia. And if you question the government of Israel or say the wrong thing about them in Argentina, we'll charge you criminally. But we don't want to do that in America because we just really understand the first. No, they want to do that here too. You know what I'm saying? And Republicans are complicit, and they're even worse because they're the fake opposition. I'm cooking too much to stop the stream now. I'm gonna try to keep it under 115. Probably not gonna happen though. Sorry. Someone said, anyone know the gist of the live? Knows the first 10, 15 minutes. Loyal viewers know your live streams are long. Stay on when you're on a roll. We love the lives because you're you. Yeah, it's fun, and we got 800 people. But I do like to keep them under an hour if I can because it's more digestible. But when we're here, we're going. So I'll stay. Someone said best show on YouTube. Thank you, appreciate it. Is Lauren Chen still alive? Yes. Do I know what happened with her? No. I mean, I saw that was a crazy situation. I have no idea. Probably lawsuits and stuff like that. Let me see. Someone said Trump wants to deport us. Eventually, probably. It's like I don't want to live in a country where I can't say anything. I hated the lockdowns. I hated being in a grocery store being yelled at by some stupid lady. She's like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you with your muzzle on. And I'm like, lady, sorry, you're not going to do the trick. You got to go get your boss because I'm not moving. It's like, I'm not reliving that again. But also, yeah, I don't believe in speech rules. Every time they try to pass a speech law, it's never for something bad. It's never, I mean, some of them are bad, but I'm just saying like most of them, it's like, they're never like, you can't do this. It's like, you can't say these people own media companies. Well, they do. I'm not saying everyone owns a media company. Like my friends don't own media companies, but like, am I supposed to not notice how much is owned by certain people? Like, is it racist to say like white people are dominating hockey? Is it racist to say that most people in the NBA are black? Although that seems to be somewhat changing. Like white people are having a good couple of years here. The whites are gaining some ground back. Like, am I not supposed to notice that Dominicans and like island people crush at baseball? Not completely, but like they're definitely like Dominicans are better at baseball on average than they are at like football. You don't see that many Dominicans in the NFL, but you see a lot in the MLB. Is that racist, or is that just like a statistical observation that is like a compliment? I don't know. But the IHRA speech laws say that compliments are now hate speech because you notice that certain people do things. It's like, you can't say they control politicians. I can't say George Soros funds politicians. I can't say Miriam Adelson is like Trump's biggest donor. Like, no, that's now hate speech because they so happen to be that race. Why would one race need speech laws to say that they don't own stuff? Do Italians need hate speech laws that say they don't own pizzerias and pasta joints? Do we need racist speech laws to say that a small percentage of the population isn't committing a majority of the violent crimes because they statistically are? Like, is that what America is now? We need a bunch of hate speech laws. You can't say Asians on average are good at math. We need a speech law for that because it makes them feel bad when you compliment them over math. I know some Asians that suck at math, but on average, the Asians in my high school were extraordinarily academically gifted. And I think it also doesn't just relate from their IQ, probably a huge part of it, but also good families. Like their parents really cared about them and made them overachieve. It's like, there's like Asian memes where it's like A+ not good enough. I need A++. Like, and Asians love sharing those memes because they're like, oh, it reminds me of my mom. I would get an A and she'd get mad because it wasn't an A+. And then when it was an A+, she thought there was a double plus I could get. It's like Asians think those memes are funny because it reminds them of their childhood. But maybe we need some Asian laws to say we can't say that. Maybe that's what we need, Asian hate speech laws. Cray said, hey, Anomaly, did you see Trump's faith advisor saying all Christians should go to Israel in order to go to heaven? I did see that clip of her with Netanyahu. She sucks. I saw another clip of her and she's such a weirdo. But yeah, that's a crazy thing to like. This is what people don't realize about Zionist firsters. Like, I can't speak for everybody because everybody has a different opinion. I can only speak for myself, but I would assume a lot of people are not so concerned with what countries they like. They're concerned that they're so pro those countries that they're willing to change the Constitution and the Bible in order to fit some fake version of them like sucking up to a foreign government. It's like, as a Christian, even if you're the most pro-Israel, Schofield Bible footnote reading Christian of all time, Zionism is like your entire worldview, and you think that you need to worship the group of people that rejects Jesus or whatever. Like, okay, let's just say that's you. Why would you say that you think that all Christians need to visit Israel, or it should be a requirement to go to heaven to visit Israel? Like, Are you rewriting, like, now it's like if you don't take a trip to Israel, you can't get into heaven? Like, that's such a stupid thing to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's such a dumb, sacrilegious, anti-Christ thing to say. But it's just because she's so in bed with a foreign government that she's like, let me just rewrite what the Bible says in order to promote your country. It's like, or you could not do that. You know, I think in order to go to heaven, you should go to a Yankees game. It's like, or you could not say that because, you know, the Bible is not about visiting a country or not. That's not what it says. It's actually interesting what it says. Maybe she should read it sometime. But this is what Zionist firsters do in every aspect of government, and then they just call everybody anti-Semitic all the time. It's like, I don't care if you like Israel. I don't care if you. To be honest, I mean, I think it's sick what's going on in the Middle East, but it's like, there's levels to how annoying what you're doing is. And the most annoying level is like, we're going to do this with your taxpayer dollars. And in return, you're going to get hate speech laws that prevent you from saying anything about it while you can't vote your way out of it. You know, I can't vote my way out of that foreign policy. You're passing speech laws to stop me from talking about that foreign policy. Yet it's the number one recipient of my taxpayer funds. So it's like my taxes are going to a war that I can't vote my way out of. And now you're telling me that now my First Amendment is now going to be manipulated in order to try to get people to stop talking about it. It's the ultimate slap in the face to any Christian, conservative, Republican, liberal, everybody. It's such a slap in the face. It's like, it's annoying enough I can't vote my way out of this. It's annoying enough that hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars have to go to this. But now you're going to push speech laws for this country too. The reason they're passing speech laws is because that's who's influencing our country. So now they want speech laws so Americans can't say that they're influencing our country. Because if American citizens are not being able to talk about who's essentially taking over America, then it's easier to take over America. And I'm sorry if this is misconstrued. And I'm sorry if this ends up in another article trying to, you know, make me feel bad or something about every true statement that I make. And maybe this will end up in international press and Drudge Report again. The one time they wrote a smear article about me, Drudge posted it. That fraud, or whoever runs that website now, it's like, okay, and what? You tweeted a bunch of my tweets. Anomaly said that Zionist donors pay Republicans. Because they do. Oh, I'm sorry I told the truth. Trump said it on stage too. He takes hundreds of millions of dollars from pro-Israel donors, and then he does stuff for Israel for them. Am I not allowed to say it, though, in my own country? Now I have... You know, it's like, it's so obnoxious. You can't support that country without taking away our First Amendment. Well, then it seems like a little bit of a problem, does it not? You know, can't vote your way out of it. Can't talk about it. Trump and his little administration of brats is going to call you a terrorist. And that's what Trump's administration is now. It's a bunch of brats. Caroline Leavitt's a brat. Kristi Noem is a brat. Nancy Mace is a brat. Luckily, she didn't get position. Elise Stefanik is like a donor-sucking brat. It's like, these are just a bunch of brats like, nah, we're deporting you, boo, 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 boo. And it's like, what does that add to the whole thing? Like, I want grown men to be deporting, you know, criminals and gang members that are actually criminals and gang members. I don't want libs of TikTok and like Laura Logan and, you know what I'm saying, Kristi Noem, like, I just got my hair done and I'm going to stand here and cosplay like I'm the one arresting the big bad gang members. You're not, though. This is feminist liberalism, pretending that women are doing things that men should be doing. It's like, you're not only are you not the type of woman that is doing it, but you're also not literally doing it. Like, at least you're not even one of the chicks who actually works for ICE that's like actually doing it. You're just like role playing and trying to look hot like it's an Instagram selfie because these women want attention. They're a bunch of brats. Everybody hates it. The left is probably going to win the midterms for sure because even people that I know that are like indifferent, they're just so annoyed by this administration. We don't need the White House Twitter account acting like mean girls. It's like, here's the right message that would actually make people feel good. You're never going to please everybody, but this would be the ethical thing to do. We're getting rid of really bad criminals and violent criminals and gang members and horrific people that we can prove are gang members. We're not going to have flimsy evidence like they are doing now and say, oh, we deported them by mistake. Dude, the Supreme Court 9-0 ruled that they should bring that guy back to America. I'm not saying that he should be roaming around or whatever, but it's like even Clarence Thomas doesn't agree with Donald Trump. Even Sam Alito doesn't agree with Trump. You know you're screwing up when the greatest Supreme Court justices we have are like, no, you shouldn't do that. Like you can go after him, but you can't just like mistakenly deport him and then say, screw it, he already went. Like that's, I don't even want to get into that case because I'm already talking about enough controversial stuff. But I was ignoring that just out of my own bias. And then I started looking into it and I'm like, wow, they're even wrong about that. That's crazy. But anyway, the right way to deport people would be like, listen, we're going to deport criminals and illegals, but have a little bit of compassion about it. Be like, listen, we know some people are good people. We know that some people are just trying to escape bad situations. But the issue is that the Biden administration left the door open and way too much got in. And now we have to enforce it, unfortunately, because this situation has been taken advantage of. If we can get this situation under wraps, maybe we could talk in a couple years and bring some people back that are good and whatever. Like, there's a way to do it that is way more thoughtful and way more honest than like, nah, poo, we arrest you, Christy, no, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't want some 25-year-old rockhead girl who's not even smart to just be acting like Lindsay Lohan and Mean Girls, like deporting illegals. It's not, what purpose does it serve? These are not the ICE agents actually risking their lives to do it. These are just bratty, annoying people, just like acting like it's a TikTok page. It's annoying, and then on top of that, they can't even go after just illegals. They're going after non-criminal green card holders who never committed a crime for criticizing Israel. It's like, what is this administration doing? It's so embarrassing. They're so cringe. This time, I think they went with just like anybody that's loyal to Donald Trump, but I guess in some ways, it's good that there's not that many establishment politicians. But, with Marco Rubio, everyone's like, Marco Rubio's doing the best job out of anyone. Marco Rubio's the most seasoned politician, right? He sounds the best. Like, I don't, to be honest, I don't hate Marco Rubio. I feel like we'd probably get along. He seems like a pretty chill guy, but it's like, he's still a politician. He's still a neocon. He's still like, whichever way the wind blows, he appears as if he's the greatest member of Trump's administration because he's like one of the only ones that isn't stupid. Like, he's a smart guy. He knows how to talk. He's been a politician for like a decade now, if not longer. All these other like mean girl brats, it's like Kristi Noem is embarrassing. Like all these other girls, it's embarrassing. It's like Trump's just giving roles to anybody that he knows will just like suck up to him. And it's like, I guess it's better than a seasoned neocon, but I don't know. It's definitely not ideal. Like, the people that deserve roles can never get roles because Trump's trying to kick them out of Congress. Thomas Massey would be a professional. Trump hates him. I've heard I think it's Douglas McGregor. I think he's a colonel or some military guy. McGregor seems like a very honest, knowledgeable, pro-America guy, but Trump will never hire him because he's not a sellout. Trump only hires sellouts or suck-ups. It's like, listen to the debate or the podcast of Tucker Carlson talking to Doug McGregor. Doug McGregor is knowledgeable about Ukraine and Russia. He likes Trump and agrees with him on a lot. He's just a little bit less sold out, I would say. It's like that. Why is that guy not in Trump's administration instead of these little brats? It's like, because you're not allowed to be in his administration if you're not working essentially for a foreign country. Someone said Wesley Clark. I mean, that guy called out the whole thing 20 years ago. He's like, we're going to invade this country, that country, this country, that country, this country, and then that country, and then we're going to invade Iran. It's like they've had the plot for 20 years. Not like, and this is another thing too. It's hard to talk about because you don't want to be misconstrued, but the people who run America and other countries, this is not unique to America or our allies. I think this is just globally known. If you don't have justification to do something, the easiest way to get it done is a tragedy, right? Like, let's just say you want to do something that's insane. Nobody wants you to, like, you can't do it. Everyone's going to be like, no, this is crazy. But if there's a tragedy, then it's like, okay, now we can do it. So, when it came to like 9/11, before 9/11, and I'm saying what I'm saying, not what other people are going to say I'm saying, because you got to be careful on these topics because everyone will misconstrue what you're saying. Before 9/11, you had people trying to get America to fight wars in the Middle East. You had, I believe, Netanyahu was speaking in front of Congress. Many others in the neocon media world were talking about how we have to do this and that in the Middle East, etc. And there was this huge push where it's like, America needs to go fight the terrorists in the Middle East because if you don't, they're going to come to America. And nobody believed it. And then it happened. So that now there's justification to do all these things. Before 9/11, there were people in the press and people in the media, etc., who wanted to push for these wars beforehand. And there's two ways that you could look at it. Either you look at it and you say, the neocons were right, that they were right. America should have fought the wars earlier to prevent 9/11. And then you have people that they call conspiracy theorists that say, I think this was done as an inside job in order to, push the war. And it's like, I'm not going to say that it was that, but what I will say is Al-Qaeda did it, and now Al-Qaeda is essentially running Syria to some extent. Al-Qaeda did it, yet in Syria, we were fighting the government of Syria who was fighting Al-Qaeda. If Al-Qaeda is the biggest threat to America because they did 9/11, why are we essentially fighting on behalf of them for a Syrian government and overthrowing a Syrian government so one of their leaders can take over Syria? Because that's what happened. So it's like there's a lot of evidence that we're not really doing what we're saying. And same with ISIS. Like, you look up who they attack and who they didn't attack, it's all very strange. So when it comes to this sort of situation, it's like people know a tragedy pushes something. It's the same way there's a shooting in America and then they push gun control. I'm not saying that they don't happen organically. I'm just saying, like, that's a known thing. It's like as soon as there's a tragedy, whether it's this one or that one, then even Republicans sometimes say, you know what? I think it is time to do common sense gun legislation. And it's like, you look at the history of false flags and it's not even controversial. There's false flags by America that are confirmed that the History Channel covers. There's things like the Levin affair where it's already proven that one of our allies would do an attack essentially to blame another group to get us to fight that group for them. Like, that's part of history that's not even debated right now. But now we're told as American citizens that if you question anything, you're horrible. Like, they try to make it so you don't question anything, that you can't question anything, that you literally get in trouble for questioning anything, which then gives a green light to our governor or other governments to do whatever they want if we're not even allowed to talk about it, And it's like, you could think of events in the last couple of years where it's like, Haaretz talked about October 7th and they were bringing up angles of it. They're an Israeli publication. And, they talked about the Hannibal Directive. And there's a lot of angles of that, but it's like the angle that Trump administration and Republicans are passing into America is essentially being like, this is such a huge tragedy that we need more speech policing. This tragedy is equivalent to the tragedy in World War II, and it's despicable if anybody says anything about it. And it's like, it's basically just giving that country a green light to do whatever they want. I'm not saying it's fake. I think people died, but what I am saying is Haaretz was covering the Hannibal Directive angle of it, and that gets ignored by Western press almost completely. And like, shout out to Haaretz, like, they're doing real journalism. I mean, it's up to you whether you believe it or not. Talking about, everybody talks about Qatar funding this and that. They're like, oh, Qatar is funding Candaceons. What about the article? I think it was Haaretz or Jerusalem Post or one of the Israeli publications. They talked about Netanyahu working with Qatar to fund Hamas. Like, I'm not saying that that's true, because you got to read the article and see if there's enough evidence there. Some people would say no, but this is not like a Muslim publication pushing propaganda against Israel. This is Israeli publications doing journalism on their own country. I follow Trey Yingst on Twitter. I like Trey Yingst. He's a, American Israeli. I think he's an American citizen. I don't know if he has another passport, but he, I would say he's definitely like pro-Israel, but he's a good journalist. Like, he's allowed in Israel. You know what I'm saying? He's been there a lot. Anytime he reports on what's going on and it's critical of Israel, his entire audience freaks out at him. But it's like, say what you want about Trey Yingst, he's a good journalist. Like, he will be like, yo, they just killed journalists and that shouldn't happen. Or they just killed a bunch of medics and lied about it. That was a story like last week or 2 weeks ago, that they claimed that the medic lights weren't on and they didn't know it was medics. So they just killed them thinking it was like Hamas or whatever. And then a video came out and it showed that the Israeli, the IDF was lying and there were lights. And Trey Yingst reported on that. Trey was like, listen, this is a lie that they said in order to kill these medics. And because Trey Yingst has been in both countries, he understands, like, you can't normalize killing medics and journalists. That's not a good precedent to set. And all the people that follow Trey Yingst that are pro-Israel, they get so mad at him when he reports that. So it's one of those things where it's like, you have to be able to talk about stuff on both sides. If they say this tragedy is so bad that you need to lose your First Amendment, this tragedy is so bad that you can't talk about it, and this tragedy is equivalent to a tragedy in the past, and that means that, In other countries, you get thrown in prison for questioning history. If Candace Owens lived in Germany, she'd be in prison. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that to scare Candace Owens or anything. I'm just like, Americans don't have speech laws. You know, Tucker Carlson could be criminally charged if he lived in Germany, and he doesn't even say anything. They have such flimsy speech laws, and one of the most, worldwide one is you can't question one aspect of World War II. And that's why all these fake neocon, fake opposition, Zionist firsters in the Republican Party, that's why they all attack Daryl Cooper, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. And if you want me to be honest, I don't really care about Daryl Cooper. I'm not a fan. He's whatever to me. I don't even find him that interesting. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm not like shilling for Daryl Cooper. I don't care about Daryl Cooper. He to be honest, I think he's annoying. And I think he is a little too he's like, there's too much anti-Semitism and sex. He wrote a big article and he's complaining about sexism and xenophobia. It's like, shut up, Daryl Cooper. No matter how much you flop like a fish, they're never going to like you. They're still going to call you an anti-Semite and a history questioner. So it's like, I get, not becoming extreme. I'm not asking him to become extreme, but it's like, you're writing an article crying about hate speech or whatever. It's like, what a clown. But anyway, Daryl, it's like, there's a reason they get mad at all these people. In other countries, they'd be in prison. In America, you can't throw them in jail. So now they have to send out all the phonies to be like, it's like, because they hate the fact that people are allowed to just question things in this country. But it's a crime in other countries. You can't question history in Germany about one topic or they'll throw you in jail. Literally. Isn't that weird? You understand what I'm saying? I don't care if it's George Washington, World War I, World War II, World War III, 9/11, any topic, ever. I don't think you should be. Why would you have to throw someone in prison for questioning history? How fragile. You understand what? It's so obvious what's going on. It's just ridiculous, and people still don't get it. It's like, why? Why can't you just educate people? Why can't you just show them the truth? The more you arrest people for questioning history, the more people in other countries start questioning it because they're weirded out by the fact that you won't allow anybody to talk about it. Why not just have more Dave Smith, Douglas Murray debates? That seems to satisfy both sides. It's like, have a debate about it. So I find it weird that all the Zionist firsters, all the people that I consider frauds, like Konstantin Kisin, Seth Dillon, James Lindsay, Douglas Murray, the neocon who wrote a neocon book and gets awards from foreign countries. He says, you can't talk about countries if you haven't been there. It doesn't make sense. It's like, you sound like Gayle King saying, oh, you're questioning my moon. Why don't you go to the moon? I don't know, because I'm not a rich news host. They don't invite me to the fake, the totally real, up and down, door open, Bezos prize. But anyway, it's like they all come out of the woodworks and the woke right is Tucker Carlson, the woke right is Candace Owens, the woke right is, Daryl Cooper. No, these are three people that are questioning history, and that it's a crime and a prison sentence in other countries to question history, and that they're passing speech laws into America, just like I know, to say that it's hate speech to question history, to say that it's hate speech to question this group, to say that it's hate speech to question this government. That. We all know that the Republicans and Democrats are passing these speech laws into America. So why does the group that tries to smear everybody talking about it never talk about it? It's because they're, in a way, like the cover up, and they'll be like, I don't agree with speech laws. Sure, I'm sure you don't. But at the same time, it's like, you're not really doing that much to oppose them. You're just smearing everybody who talks about them, saying that they're so crazy for questioning stuff. Daryl Cooper, he doesn't even do that much. He just covers history from a nuanced perspective. He's not even that edgy. I do understand that he says things that they think is inaccurate. And to be honest, I don't even listen to him oh, he's educating me. It's like, I know enough about history and enough about stuff to not have to listen to Daryl Cooper. He's an interesting guy, but it's like, he's not even that crazy. He's just I think he doesn't like Winston Churchill, and Tucker Carlson doesn't like Winston Churchill. And, Winston Churchill's the hero of the West, I guess, because everybody, he defeated Hitler. So that means Winston Churchill's good. It's like, I guess then if Joe Biden beats up China or something, that Joe Biden must be good, right? Because he beat China and China's bad. It's like, I guess that's how they look at history. But, Trump beat Biden. Do I have to think that Trump's good? Do I have to think that Jimmy Carter was a good president? Do I have to think that Ronald Reagan was great? Do I have to think that, Harry Truman was the greatest president because he, blew up people? It's like, is that the world we live in? We have to just believe Winston Churchill's awesome. I feel like Winston Churchill sucked, but it's like, I'm not saying everyone else was awesome. I'm just saying he also sucked. Like, no, in modern day history, I'm not a fan of like almost, I'm trying to think of a foreign leader that I'm a fan of. Bukele's okay. I guess the guy in Hungary's okay. I don't know. Lukashenko was funny during COVID, but obviously I'm not allowed to say that because now we're fighting him or something, but he didn't shut down because of COVID. I liked him. The guy in Africa that didn't shut down for COVID is cool too. I don't really care that much about other politicians, but I feel like most foreign leaders seem like they're just controlled. So I'm not like that into them. With that being said, I live in a world where I personally came to the conclusion that 95 to like 99% of world leaders are not really that great. But if this were 50 years in the past, I'd be called an anti-Semite or something, or they'd say I'm like a, like I question. It's like, most world leaders suck now. Zelensky versus Putin. If you don't like Zelensky, that's hate speech and you're pro Putin. I don't care about Putin or Zelensky. I like Zelensky less than Putin. If I had to choose, I like Zelensky less because he takes more money. He seems more dishonest and he's just annoying. If Putin were taking hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer money and it would be annoying too, but he's not. So I don't know. I can't think that now 20 years now. No, you have to think that, like Starmer or whoever, like he's a great leader because he was fighting the tyranny overseas. What if they all sucked? Like Winston Churchill, I'm pretty sure sucked. And I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson is onto something when he says like, he's part of the collapse of the UK. It didn't happen instantaneously, but it's like he did not set his country up for long-term success. You could think it's not that, but I don't know. I'm not going to be like yelled at by the fakest people in modern day politics. And they're like, you have to think he was the hero. Okay. I guess I do. Do I have to think Trump was the hero too? Is Justin Trudeau the hero because he's funding foreign country? Justin Trudeau, the hero of the world because he's not on the bad boy side. He's with the good boys. Justin Trudeau's a good little boy and he funds the vaccine. It's like, Justin Trudeau sucks. And it's like our allies are not necessarily awesome. It's not true now. It wasn't true then, especially with the communist people who killed tens of millions of people that we aligned with. Do I have to pretend that Stalin was awesome too? Because we, beat up Germany with them. Now I have to pretend that like Joseph Stalin was a hero. No, it's like, that's not how history works. But I guess it does for Winston Churchill, for these like Zionist firsters. You just got to love them or else you're a big bad boy like Daryl Cooper, who wrote the saddest article I've ever read. He wrote an article about like the problem with anti-Semitism. And he literally used like the words like racist and sexist and like all these words. And it's like, bro, you could act like you're a 21-year-old liberal girl at Harvard if you want in your article to try to get the people off your back. But like, they're never going to like you. He's like, I went on these message boards and there was sexism and xenophobia and racism and I'm Daryl Cooper and I'm above that. It's like, all right, bro, like I get it. Yeah, no, Daryl Cooper's a nice guy. And there's definitely some people on the message boards that are really messed up. Like I get what he's saying, but I just think it's kind of corny to like use the word like racism and sexism. It's like misogyny or whatever he said. It's like, all right, dude, I get it. Like, why can't you just be like, there's scumbags on Twitter and there's anonymous accounts that are pieces of garbage that I hate, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to like cave to hate speech. Like, I don't know. I felt like his article was pretty corny, but whatever. I don't care. Someone said Tucker said his favorite vacation spot is Israel. It probably is. I mean, to be honest, like I've never been there, but I've heard people that went there that had a good time. Like I have a friend who traveled all over the world and played basketball. And I asked him, I said, where's your favorite place to travel? And he told me Israel. This was years ago. So as a tourist, I'm sure it's really fun. I think Tucker's trying to bring it up that he's like, I'm not anti-Israel. I like going there, but he probably wouldn't go there now because I think, they hate him so much there because there's so much propaganda against Tucker Carlson. So I'm sure at one point he did go there, and I think it's okay to say that you had a good time in that country, but it's like, I doubt he would return there now because there's so much bad press about him that they're trying to make Israelis hate Tucker Carlson. They do that to anybody who tells the truth. They just flood your country with like, you should hate him. But anyway, all right. I stayed way longer than I thought, but I am actually going to wrap this up soon. It's funny, like watching these back where I'm like, I'm going to stop in 5 minutes and I don't, but I really intended to. Someone said, well, it's nice to know how much of your American taxpayer money made it that way. Yeah, it's nice to go check up on our taxpayer money. Every American trip to Israel should be free because we're paying so much money to them. But it is free. You just have to like talk to Dennis Prager or something. You're like, Dennis Prager, can I go to Israel for free? He's like, surely nobody sent more people to Israel than me, Dennis Prager. And then you go on the Prager University flight and you're like, woo, free trip with Dennis Prager. Free trip with Dennis. And then you land and they're like, hello, let's show you how great it is. And you can post pictures every day of how much fun you're having. And you're like, all right, okay, I can get into this. But I would have loved to have gone before the war broke out and like before I was in politics, but now I probably wouldn't go because, you know, the press smears me as an anti-Semite every 2 seconds. So I'm not, but it's like, I guess according to the IHRA definition, everybody's an anti-Semite, including Jewish people. So it's like when you have a definition that's so loose, everyone's hateful now. It's like, I mean, I wouldn't know, but according to that definition, they're like, it's just so hateful to say that Ben Shapiro has dual loyalty to Israel. That's just hate speech. It's like, it's probably factual, but okay, I guess you could say it's hateful, but it's not though. Someone said you could pass as an Ashkenazi. You kind of look like them. Well, thank you. I think I definitely like look like a lot of things. I feel like if I went to most countries, I could kind of blend in, except Africa. I definitely don't look black. So if I was in Nigeria, I'm like, yeah, I'm black. And they're like, no, but probably, yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to lie. I'm not going to go there and lie and be like, hey, what are we doing, guys? And they're like, something feels off. And I'm like, I'm one of you, Habibi. Come on, relax. Like, what? Did you just call us Habibi? I'm like, shoot, that's wrong. What do we call each other here? Anyway. Let's see. Blend into any country. Definitely not Africa, but like Spanish, Middle East, I could definitely swing it, you know? Could definitely swing a little something there. You could pass for I don't even know what that word means. Raise up the dream rare sign. No, because this is not, I could just raise the camera. Like it looks better when I'm filming on the camera. You'll see. One day I'll do all my live streams from a better camera. So it doesn't need to be raised. It's just like this needs to be raised, but you know, it's okay. I am Italian, so I hope I would fit it in Italy, but I'm mixed with like 4 different things. So I don't know if the Italians would fully bring me in, but well, I think so. I think I look Italian enough. Someone said Africa isn't just black. I could fit in South Africa, but I don't really have the African accent. But Nigeria is pretty black. I use that as an example. Is it not? Let me see. Nigeria, racial demographics. Let's look it up. I mean, they're pretty mixed, but I think it's mostly black. But anyway, I'm not saying nowhere could I'm not saying Africans wouldn't like me. I'm just saying like I can't go to Nigeria and be like, I'm Nigerian. You understand it? It's like I could do that in other countries probably, but not Nigeria. But if you want to take that as some sort of, I'm sure I'd have a great time in most of Africa and people would be cool, but I don't know. You know, I don't think they would think I was them though. You know, the same way if like a black person went to like Iceland or something and most people are white, I don't think people would be like, are you Icelandish 100% like ethnically? Like these are things that it wouldn't happen is what I'm trying to say. Egypt is in Africa. Most places, not all places. There's places in Asia that probably have a lot of white people too, but it's like they're not going to think I'm Thai in Thailand. Doesn't mean there's no Caucasian, you know, congregations out there or whatever. Tedros passes as Ethiopian. Yeah, but he looks more Ethiopian than I do. I don't know if he really is or not, but you don't think Tedros looks more Ethiopian than me? Do we really have to play this game? Like, I'm not racist. I know that there's people everywhere. Yes, so do I. But I'm just saying, it's like, are we going to pretend that like someone Mexican in China, like they would be like, oh, are you Chinese? Like maybe if you look Chinese enough, but it's like they would probably be like, oh, he's Mexican. Unless he spoke really good Chinese or something. I don't know. Someone said, all right, Zambia. I don't know enough about Zambia. Miss Stockholm chosen 10 years ago was black. Well, there's a fun fact that no one asked for, but now I get it. They have competitions and sometimes different people win. Caucasian congregations. Yeah, I just thought it was funny to say, you know, instead of just saying white people, I think it's funnier to be like Caucasian congregations, you know, it has like a funnier ring to it. The black delegation chooses Tiger Woods. That's from Dave Chappelle. Like black delegation, Caucasian congregation. These are just linguistic games that we play for our own entertainment. No one else says that. I don't think when white people go to countries, but someone said it's good the way it is. The sign, the music, it's all good. Well, like I said, I film most of the time now with the camera that's up here, so it's the angle of it looks weird because I'm at a weird angle. But I'm just on my laptop with no. I don't have my booster. I forgot to get my booster shot. Should I get my booster shot, Fauci? Well, you know, it would boost the percentage your chances of getting and spreading for about 3 months if you get it. But I've already had 15 boosters. Do I really need a 16th? Well, the science is pretty settled on that, bucko, even though it changes every day. All right. I don't think we need, I mean, listen, whatever YouTube says we need. Susan Wojcicki, you know, what do we need? What's going on with her sister's company, though, 23andMe? They're like going bankrupt, and then is someone just going to buy everyone's genetic data? It's like they're bankrupt. What are they going to have an auction? Someone's just going to come up on like 100 million people or however many people they have, like all their like genetic information. What if Elon buys it with Neuralink and he's just like, haha, I can clone you now and put a brain in the robot? I'm not worried about it, but my Anthony Fauci turned into a Jordan Peterson. I discovered on the spot that I don't have an Anthony Fauci impression. I have to think. I haven't heard him in a while, so I don't even know. Yeah, it turned into a Jordan Peterson real fast, and it wasn't good. What does Anthony Fauci sound like? I'm trying to think. I gotta like. Let me listen to a video of Anthony Fauci real quick. Hold on, Anthony Fauci. Let's listen to him talk. It's been like years since I've heard Anthony Fauci. It's probably going to be hard to even find a video of him on Twitter. I just searched it in Twitter. Let's see. There's. Yeah, I found a video of Lex Friedman saying he accomplished a lot of incredible things. Dude, if Lex Friedman were any more of a plant, they would just put him in a box and sell him on Wayfair. That you know, that's a plant joke because they sell plants, fake plants on Wayfair, but like Lex Friedman is like, I talk. I'm really entertaining. Welcome to the Lex Friedman Show. And today we're going to have a really reasonable discussion with Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci is a really interesting man, almost as interesting as me. And we're going to talk about all of the really incredible things that he's done in his life. I mean, I always take pictures with Joe Rogan and I never smile. I just look like a confused jack-o'-lantern, and it's really awkward because everyone else in the picture's smiling. But even though I never smile in my pictures and I look and sound insane and my eye contact is really weird, you know, I like to tell people that everything that I'm doing is for love. I mean, can the world just really get along and love each other while I lobby for? No, it's like, yeah, like it's just all. I'm really into love. Like if the whole world could just like sing songs and get along, but at the same time, the neocons could get everything they want at the same time as everyone's loving each other, and the neocons can achieve their agenda, then like that's the world that we could all really live in. And, I just really don't think that groups exist. I mean, it's really just individuals. Like when people say that there's groups in the world, it just comes across as so hateful to me because there's like individuals doing individual things. And like even for my group, I don't think there's a group. I think it's just individuals doing these things. But anytime you mention my group in a way I don't want you to, then I'll say that there is a group that I'm a part of, and that group needs to be a protected class and can't be talked about that way because we have a very shared identity and a history that's really important. So there is a group and I'm part of it, and I don't like when you talk about it. But whenever you do talk about that group in a way that's not complimentary, then I'm going to say that there actually is no group, and I will gaslight you into thinking that there's no group, and the groups don't exist, and we just need to all really love in this world. It's just all about love, and it's all about getting interviews with Albert Bourla and Zelensky, and it's really about complimenting Anthony Fauci and just being like a reasonable moderate and taking selfies with Joe Rogan where I don't smile but he's smiling. That's what it's really all about on this really exciting, interesting, thorough, totally not planted podcast that's just really about love. Sorry about that. Dude, I almost fell asleep doing that impression. All right, where's Anthony Fauci? I gotta listen to him. I don't have a good one of him. Let's listen. The way he talks, he says the problem in the arena that we live in of disinformation. It's like, dude, F this guy. The Dana. I don't think I have a good Anthony Fauci impression. I'll have to work on it. But like, he's like, dude, the data. He's got like a raspy voice. I don't know how to do it, to be honest. I wish I could, but he's like, if you look at the data, I can't. You can't win them all. Is my mic mute? No, I don't think so. All right, let's have a few. Definitely got to keep this under 2 hours. Let's just end it now, because if I don't end it now, I'm going to go too long. Appreciate y'all. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Let me know in the comments what you think, and keep arguing over my theme song. The more comments, the better. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for the soul. So, yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank you for hanging out. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll be back soon. And, it's an interesting world out there. Enjoy yourself. Don't get too caught up in stuff. But I'll say this before I end it. A lot of people think, and I understand, because it's like at a certain point, you don't want to look at things that you don't like. I understand this as well. It's like we only have so much time in the day, and we only have so much life in this world. So for me, I guess I don't like, sometimes I post stuff like this or the Instagram reel I did, and people will say like, are you ever happy? And it's like, yes, absolutely. I hope I'm happy every day. Not every day, but I feel like I'm a pretty joyful person. I don't like get my happiness from lying to myself. That's the only way I can think of it. Like anything that I'm inspired to do, I'm intrigued to do, and probably the reason people watch my show. It's like it's interesting and exciting to learn the truth. Like I don't think lying to myself about what's going on makes me happy. Maybe that makes some people happy, but then it becomes this Stockholm syndrome cycle of like, you're happy, you're mad at the wrong person. Like the people that trust politicians and trust Trump, I don't think that they're happier than me. You know what I'm saying? Like I see them pissed off all the time. They're like mad at Fauci, they're mad at this. And then they get mad at me when I show that Trump gave Fauci an award and worked with Bill Gates. It's like, everyone gets happy and upset at different things. So it's like, I don't know that joy derives from lying to yourself about politics and running in circles. I find it more joyful to like step off the carousel and be like, yeah, this is what's going on. And then, doing what I can about it, and then leaving it alone and moving on with my life about other stuff and doing other interesting stuff that I enjoy. So, I definitely do want to do more fun stuff that I agree with, but one thing I will say definitely for what I do is that if a lot of people were constantly covering things, I would probably just do more of like what Benny Johnson does, where I'm like, look at this liberal, la 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 la. It's like that's easy to do. You know, like I do the stuff that's more difficult because I don't see anyone doing it. So if 95% of influencers won't cover a topic that my future freedom depends on, and that other people in other countries are getting jailed for, like this is no joke. Just like the lockdown was no joke. So it's like I do wish I could do more things that were more fun. You know, I hope this is fun for people, but I just can't. I can't walk away. I can't leave now. The game needs me. You know, like I don't know if other people start doing their job more, then I'll just do reaction to like stupid videos. I would love to do that, but it doesn't excite me. It doesn't intrigue me, and I can't stop now. I've worked so long at this, and there's actually a lot of change happening and people figuring this stuff out. And I do think it is interesting where we're all so connected that all it takes is a certain amount of people to figure it out. And then it becomes like a wave and everyone starts covering it. So, I hope this isn't a downer for people. I hope I make it as fun as possible. But for me, it's just not fun to lie. Like I don't know. I like sports like other people do, and I'll cheer for a sports team if I care. But it's like I'm not going to pretend like a politician's a sports team. I like it. There's enough things that you could cheer for that aren't politics that you could have fun. You could watch a reality show. You could watch a TV show. This is I think there's something psychologically going on because I've never really liked TV shows and I don't like movies. And I feel like I'm in like less than 10%. Like I don't watch any new TV show. Yellowstone, blah, 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 White Lotus. I have no idea what they are, vaguely, I guess, based off like a commercial. But I don't watch any of these things. So it's like I don't view the world as a TV show because I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. And I don't like fake things. I don't like watching fake movies and I don't watching fake TV shows. I've enjoyed them in the past, and it's not like I hate every movie, but I just don't like. I can't explain it. I just don't like it. I'd rather play a sport. I'd rather play a video game or something. Like I'd rather do anything but watch a television show or movie. It's just not what I like to do. People that watch TV shows and movies all the time, I feel like they think politics is a movie or a TV. There's something psychologically happening where it's like they think it's like Seinfeld or like the Avengers and like Biden's the bad guy and Trump's like Captain America or something. Like there's something psychologically going on where people are like, how do you have joy in everything? It's like you could watch the Avengers and have fun without thinking that politics are literally the Avengers. Like how is that fun? I don't get how that. I guess it is fun to be like Trump's crushing the liberals. But if you think Trump is crushing the liberals, but he's crushing our First Amendment, like how is that fun to find out in 2 years that we weren't actually really crushing the liberals that much? Like, and everybody reports on the good things that Trump's doing. I don't want to act like they don't exist. Like I've seen certain things that Trump has done that are good. And in fact, I've covered them and I post articles about them on Facebook a lot. But for my videos, it's like if everyone's doing that and every Republican knows all of that already, there's no value in me just covering that again because you've probably seen what I said already on everyone else's show. It's going to be on Tim's show and Benny. Like everyone does the same thing. So I feel like sometimes I'm guilty of that because I have to cover the same thing. But it's like I want to cover it in a different way, not to be a contrarian, not to just give you an alternate opinion that I don't agree with. To number one, tell the truth. To number two, do my job as a journalist and a news analyst to analyze the news accurately and give you the most accurate version of it I can. But also it's like, it just so happens that the truth is constantly contrarian because the left is lying. The right is like, loves Trump a lot. And then there's very few people that are actually willing to look at the actual topic. And it's hard to do because when you do look at the actual topic, it makes you seem like you're just a contrarian. Like someone's like, why are you're just posting this just to disagree for clicks? I made more money when I was complimenting Trump. Like I'm not saying I care that much, but like the month that I liked what Trump was doing, I did better financially than this month where I disagree with him. And I wasn't complimenting Trump just to make money. The first couple of weeks of Trump's administration, he wasn't doing anything egregiously horrible that I was annoyed at. So I had a flow of just posting things that were more positive and making fun of Democrats. And the second that Trump does something that I disagree with because it's just anti-American, it like people think I'm doing this just for money. It's like every time I criticize Trump, I lose thousands of dollars. Like this month, I probably made like I'm not even going to say, but thousands less. And I don't even care. I'm just like, it's not just to do it for clicks. I get enough clicks when I compliment Trump. Like I get paid on Facebook, and Facebook people like Trump. So it's actually worse to disagree with him, but I just do what I'm inspired to do. And I do what I think is right, regardless of that number. But it's like, I'm not doing it just to be edgy. Like everything's edgy nowadays. I don't have to do it. I'm telling you what I really think, and I'm trying to report what's really happening. With the guy that Trump deported, they admitted it was a mistake. I'm not saying he's innocent, but it's like, apparently there's a Supreme Court ruling of 9-0. If literally Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito disagree with you too, I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's like, maybe you should bring them back and give them a case here. You know, like I haven't fully followed that, but the more I look into it, I'm like, wait, they're lying about this too? Darn it. Can Republicans do it? Like they're embarrassing me, but whatever. I got to go. I got to keep this under 2 hours. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out